Welcome to another episode of Baby Daddies. We are joined this week by not just a reality TV star, a now producer, if I'm correct, producer over at the Daddy TV. We're joined by Jimmy this week. Jimmy, how are you?
Hey guys, hey! I'm so glad to be here. I absolutely love this podcast and I've been watching since the first one and I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you here.
Oh, thanks.
And we're happy
Happy
to have the Chicago representation on the show as well.
And don't feel bad at all that I'm the only person on the entire cast you could have invited on this podcast by opening a window and screaming it out.
You're right.
But don't be insulted at all that you waited until episode 7 to do it. It's perfectly fine.
Listen, we're waiting for a good episode. We got a damn good episode to represent.
I agree.
You know, before we get into it, you know, you and Quis have always, like, throughout the season, we see your relationship, right? But the storyline hasn't always been the focal point because, you know, we've got other couples with a lot more drama. And, you know, this is kind of the pitfall of being a well-adjusted human on reality TV, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was the issue. I mean, Quis and I, from the very beginning, just kind of clicked. We got very lucky through our bad luck, having been paired up when we weren't each other's choices, obviously. And we got past that so fast that we just went right into, we were cool with each other. We liked each other. We had the same sense of humor. We made each other laugh. We could talk about anything. We were messing around all over the house. We had so much fun. And whenever we would hear people talking about, like, oh, the drama and the fights, I'm like, what the fuck are you fighting about here? Like, they give you every meal. You just get to hang out with people. You get to just play. This should be fun. And we were just having so much fun that you're absolutely right. That what we weren't seeing, and I think we don't see throughout the season, is this up and down of, like, you need to have some kind of an argument or a fight, and then you need to have development and the arc. Instead, we were just sort of like, yep, we're just going to continue doing our thing and having fun. But it did change as we got in to the season a bit. I think the dynamic kind of shifted a little bit in terms of our involvement. We weren't fighting with each other, but the rest of the cast was kind of open.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're saying relationships don't always have to have fights every other minute?
Should it be that hard? That is the question.
Well, should it be that hard? Should it be that hard? And, you know, but you bring up a good point. It's just sort of like, I was from the very beginning just a normal person. I mean, I consider myself just a normal person, and I didn't know that, like, you needed to be more expressive. I didn't know that you needed to, like, talk more and say your feelings more than you normally. I mean, I wasn't doing it. On Daddy TV, for its benefit, and really to its credit, they don't push you. So no one was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Jimmy, we can see that you're getting pissed off about this. We can see you're getting frustrated. Will you please, for the love of God, say something? I wish they would have and would have explained it to me at the time, but instead they were being all nice and normal and professional and just let me be my normal self. Like, oh, everything's fine.
And we even see last episode when Rico and Nigel are kind of going through it. We see you and Keith standing there. You have these sunglasses on. We just see your eyebrows go up all the way up.
They was up here. Like,
you know, the funny part about that was I got a phone call from someone in my family who was watching the show. And what they told me was, you know, I really didn't like that. I didn't like how they were making it look like you were getting aggravated. Like, they were setting you up and they kept showing you like you were getting pissed off. I'm like, they were catching exactly what was happening. I can't help it. I have a poker face, but my eyebrows, they're in business for themselves. So all you see is just up and down, like, what the hell is going on? And it was right. It wasn't something they made happen. They were aware that I was already getting uncomfortable with the dynamic. And I don't know if they intentionally put us in that scene for that reason. But I know they got what they wanted, which is just seeing me like, really? Did you just apologize for having an opinion? Is that what I just heard? Okay.
And I get it. Listen, these eyebrows, they're all over the place. They are constantly acting on their own free will.
I am so jealous of y'all. I wish it could just be my eyebrows. Like, you tell me one thing, the entire face changes.
Imario has no poker face.
I can't.
It's plain as the sun in the sky. So we start this episode off in a very interesting way with quite maybe the couple that is not as attached as everyone else. We start with Kane and Hazel in the pool. This scene it's a little awkward.
You can cut that sexual tension with a knife, can't you?
Yeah, with a pool noodle. I think they have an opportunity to do something here that would make really interesting TV. Is a couple that knows that they're not together, but is still working to get the money, to invest in each other, to still have a good relationship. It might not be a sexual relationship, it might not be a romantic relationship, but they are, for all intents and purposes of the show, a couple. And I think it would be interesting for them to continue that way, but that's not really what happened.
No, I think from their perspective, I mean, it was similar to was it Prince and oh God, I'm forgetting the Irish guy's name.
Oh yes, Prince Joshua and oh dear.
Oh, it was so terrible. I'm really good with all of them, and I forgot. But it was kind of like that, where it seemed like they could have had that, that realization, and then said, "Okay, we're maybe not gonna be together, but we can still win this thing." But back then, they also said, "We're not going to be in this." And I think, to Kane and Hazel's credit, I think they were seeing genuine connections in the house, and they were like, "Is it really fair?" And I don't even know how that would have come across if they had been successful in making, and you have to see how it all pans out. But I think it was an interesting choice on their part. They could have done it. I mean, you can just pair up with someone and just win challenges and win the money. If I had, no actual connection, I probably would have tried to do the same thing myself. So,
yeah, I think if they had went that route, they definitely still wouldn't have won because they wouldn't be able to get the votes from everybody, or everyone else sees that they don't have the connection. But I think it would have made good TV to be like, let's just go all in. Yeah. Fuck it. Let's do this.
Fuck them all. We're going to get rid of the strongest ones. We're just going to throw everyone out. Yeah. That's what would have been the fun thing to do.
Very Mr. and Mrs. Smith of it all, just find their way.
I love it. I love it.
Maybe we ain't got no love, but what we can get? Some money.
Some money. Something I have written here. I don't have a whole lot written for the section because we can get a whole lot, but I have written here, Hazel mentions that old men are always expecting more than one is ready to give of themselves. I don't know if that's necessarily true for just old men. I feel like that might just be a lot of people in general. People just having expectations that aren't, kind of connecting, maybe because of a lack of communication or something. But that kind of stuck out in my head. And obviously everyone has their own experiences, but...
Well, it was an interesting take, I would say. I don't know if maybe that's just Hazel's experience in life. I would imagine, because in my estimation, most people are dirtbags at some level, and they all want the same thing. So I don't know if there's really any different expectation from older. I think he might get that vibe, and it might make him feel uncomfortable from an older person, maybe. But I'm sure he gets it from younger people too. So
exactly, yeah. I think it's probably based off his experience, because I've definitely got the same from people my own age, people older than me. So a lot of people are missing kind of what they're expecting in a relationship, and that leaves Kane feeling a little bit stranded. But they're getting along.
They're trying.
They gonna make it work.
They're trying.
So we begin with this scene, and it already starts off with Derek just like, it's so different with Daniel not here. And I wrote R.I.P. Daniel, baby, we love and we miss you.
I know.
Such a powerful voice, gone too soon. Daniel's not dead. He's well, but he's just not the competition.
He's just listening to Maya at home.
Love Daniel. Love Daniel. Love Daniel. Daniel not being in the mansion was such a bummer. Losing either twin for any reason was a bummer. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wanted to win, and I would have beaten either one of those bitches, definitely. But I didn't want to see either one of them gone, because they were legitimately entertaining, hysterical, honest, funny. They were so much fun to be around. And I think all of us, when Daniel and Ed were announced, we were all like, what the fuck did they just do? What a stupid decision. I mean, so dumb too, so bad from a strategic perspective. But you pissed off you pissed off your only friend in the competition, because Barry and Dr. Ed knew each other. And the entire time, which, they talked about on the show, was when we were talking about like one couple is going to have to vote people off, and the whole time Dr. Ed was telling us like, I know that you guys are going after Barry, and there is no way I am voting him off. He is my friend and I know him and I'm not voting him off. And when Barry called their name, it doesn't come across on screen exactly how tense it was when Dr. Ed started clapping.
Yeah.
It was
Laugh it up for
like
Barry.
yeah, it was like so awkward, and I was like, "Is Dr. Ed gonna just launch himself right at Barry? Because he looks like he's
That's what
about
I
to
was
kill
nervous
someone."
for.
Yeah.
When a man starts clapping for someone who fucked up,
It's over. You need to leave the building. It's
Yes.
over.
My traumatized childhood suddenly is getting this experience of mom and dad fighting again, and I'm like, this is awkward. You're acting like you're not mad, but you're mad, and something's gonna happen. Please make it happen or don't, but stop doing this."
yeah. Oh God, that elimination. Oh jeez.
It was
That was
traumatic.
tough. That was tough, and honestly, I would say that, excuse me, out of all the eliminations that I saw, the one with Daniel was the one, and in watching it on the show, it was the one elimination that actually made me tear up. Like watching Daniel talk about how I just wanted to stay longer. Like honestly, I'm starting to get emotional. I'm starting to cry right now because that is how much they really just loved being in the house, and everyone loved them. So it was just, that's why I say from a strategic perspective, it was stupid, just because you managed to not get rid of the strongest competition, get rid of a friend who you'll now be pissing off, and because you eliminated this couple that everybody liked, you've now painted the giant target on your own back. So
yeah, everyone's gunning for you.
yeah. So in terms of what happened in this episode and what happens with me in this episode, I picked a good one because the hate for that couple was so strong that I don't know if it would have mattered what I said. I don't think I would have been kicked out on that day.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of notes here about, because I'm running the math in my head. I'm always talking numbers. Whenever we get a vote, I'm thinking there's 5 of us. You need at least 3 to sway the vote. And so I'm thinking numbers wise always. I think that's the Virgo in me. But yeah, I have some notes later on where we talk numbers, especially regarding Marcus and Barry and what they could have or maybe should have done to maybe try to sway a vote. But back to the 4 of y'all in the room.
Yep.
Yes. Daniel said the new bitches gotta go. And Keith was like, you know what? I agree. They gotta go. So honestly, when I saw that, I was like, it's over. They're gonna just murder them in their sleep. They're never leaving Dilf Mansion.
I mean, you pissed off the twin. I mean, again, there's so many layers to the stupidity of eliminating Daniel and Ed, but you pissed off the twin. You pissed off the person the twin is with. You pissed off the people who the twin was around. You pissed off the people the twins are talking to now. I mean, it was just so dumb. And so I was in no way shocked. And Quis was absolutely, I mean, Quis was dead. I had lots of thoughts in my head about the people that should be going, but they were like, no, first priority is Barry and Marcus, and everything else we'll deal with everyone else. Okay, Quis, like, I mean, personally, I told Quis, I'm like, you're supposed to agree with me whether I'm right or wrong, and you should be going with who I want to eliminate. They didn't play it, but in any case, I agreed with Quis that I think the priority was them. Plus, I knew it was our opportunity to kind of me to be able to talk more too about the concerns I had that were going into the episode. So.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of like they're like a firecracker couple to keep around if you didn't get rid of them this episode, because you don't know where their loyalties lie. You don't know who they would keep.
No.
So
they didn't.
Everyone.
It felt like they didn't understand, and it was because they were so new. I mean, it's not necessarily just. I mean, I say it was stupid. It's not necessarily that it was necessarily stupid because they didn't know the dynamics of the house really. What they saw was they saw Ed and they saw Daniel, and they thought they were very pretty because they're both gorgeous people, and they're like, they're the biggest competition. Like, okay, I mean, I get what you're thinking. I understand. I mean, Dr. Ed is quite a specimen of a man. I get it.
He
And
is.
Daniel's gorgeous. So yeah, I get it. I understand. But I mean, that's all they had to go on was that. So I just was struck by the fact that he got rid of his only friend in the competition. That was a bold move. That was a bold move. Bold move, Mary.
That's because I know a lot of it isn't personal because it's a competition, but if I'm on a competition and Imario sends me home, we're gonna have a conversation when we both get back. You know, like we're having a conversation. Home, so why you thought that was the right thing to do, friend? Like,
please explain it to me. Please explain to me why you thought I was the best choice to get rid of. Yeah.
On national television.
So are y'all saying that Barry and Marcus are up there with the betrayers of the world, like Naomi Smalls, Jimbo and Pangina? Like,
girl, they might.
They
I could see them on an episode of The Traitors because they were in it for themselves, and I on some level, I kind of love that for them. That like the gall, the audacity to play it like that, but it blew up in their face.
Well, I mean, and they didn't. I don't know. It didn't come across. They're like, well, they were more honest about it. I mean, when you're talking about Pangina and you're talking about getting Pangina, it was really more of a. We know they're the biggest threat, and we have this opportunity to get rid of them. The difference is Pangina was the biggest threat. So in that case, it was a very different thing. You know, that was, and I'm not saying it because I wanted to see Ed and Daniel there. I mean, I wanted to see what was going to happen because they were really getting close. They could have been anything, and I just love looking at them. So I wanted them around too. But, you know, you can see in watching this season, you can watch and you can see who the biggest threats are. And at that point in the season, it wasn't the couple that got eliminated. That's all I'm saying. Personally, I loved Ed and Daniel.
I have written here.
Absolutely.
Quis thinks that Nigel isn't as much of a daddy as Rico. And to that, I say, I disagree. I love a baby daddy. I think every season needs a baby daddy. We need like a soft daddy who's, you know, just out here crying. Baby daddy representation is important.
Well, Quis did think that, and I understood his perspective from what he was saying. But I personally think you can have any dynamic you want. You don't have to have that kind of dynamic where the daddy is the one that is more the forceful one and the more confident and dominant one, and the himbo is the one it doesn't have to be like that. Quis and I had a balance, I would say, a different kind of balance as well. So, you know, he said it, and I was like, okay. I mean, you said that, and good for you. But you know, in terms of my personal opinion, is that you can have any kind of dynamic you want. That wasn't in any way like a problem for me. Like I was like, do whatever you want. There was so much else to have problems with that I saw, so I didn't think their daddy and himbo dynamic was the issue.
Yeah, let's actually talk about this a little bit because we start talking about the ride and die conversation as we've come to call it on this show. The ride and die, because as Imario will say, the caption said it.
The caption said, "I need a ride and die," and I was just like, "Let me rewind it. Maybe I messed it up." I turned him off, turned it back on. I need a ride and die.
Did he say that? I mean, I didn't actually listen to. And I wasn't looking at the captions, I guess, because I just knew the gist of what he was saying. Did he actually say ride and die?
I gotta rewatch it, but if I'm trusting Imario on this one, it might, because the captions have been a little off, a little here or there. I just want my oats, as they said in one episode, instead of oso.
No, so the ride or die conversation. I watched. You know, just being in the room when that was happening was on episode 5 was kind of incredible. Like, I felt like I honestly was looking around like, am I on candid camera? Is nobody else seeing like this? Anybody? Why are you crying? And like, you know, and I wasn't talking about why Nigel was crying. Whatever, he was crying. I'm talking about why everyone else is crying. I'm like, oh, crying? He just said that he has to agree with him whether he's right or wrong. Did anyone else hear that? And you notice during that episode 5 thing, you will not see a reaction from me at all. You won't see them put the camera on me one time, because all you're going to see is like the whole time. Yeah, the whole time. And, you know, I do know that Quis was very moved by it. But it was so uncomfortable for me right there that I was surprised that Nigel responded the way he did. And I was also surprised he cried before Rico even started talking. I mean, I would expect that if Rico had picked Matt, but it started before he even started talking. So it was very uncomfortable. And I just knew, even though no one else in the room was necessarily agreeing with me, and no one agreed with me, by the way. No one agreed with me. But even though I knew no one else was seeing it, I knew how that was going to look when it came out. And that kind of led to this conversation we're going to talk about this episode too.
Yeah, because when I tell you we were like screaming at the TV, agreeing with you these past 2 episodes.
I don't know. You guys have been Team Nigel, Team Rico. I mean, I've been hearing it from you guys. Oh, Nigel and Rico, they're our favorite. Well, good for you. Good. You chose well.
And the thing is we will be the first ones to be like, we love a couple, but we will also tell them how it is when we need to. We are not afraid of tough love, because we were the first ones. You know, the second Rico had a red flag, I mentioned it. The second Dr. Ed had a red flag, I mentioned all 8 of those. You don't cook, you don't clean. You know? So you know, because at the end of the day, it's reality TV for me. I'm like, I love a lot of these couples, but when there is a time for me to call the bitches out, I will call them out as needed, and it's all done with love, you know, because
you should. TV, it should be fun. Should. Yes, I mean, Nigel and Rico, and you know, it's really important to listen. They're really awesome people. You want Nigel and Rico literally at every party you have. Rico is sexy and confident and so much fun and so warm and a big bear. And then you have Nigel, who is the life of every party, the brightest light in every room. They are really amazing. It had nothing to do with either one of them, really. It was just the 2 of them that mixed, and it was just weird when you watched it. But independently, love both of them, and they were both really close friends.
We talk about that when Nigel was on the show. We talked about kind of the way, as we see later this episode, kind of outside forces were kind of informing the level of emotion that he was feeling throughout not just this episode, but most likely the entire season, obviously. So we move on to the long distance intimacy challenge, which is probably the most plain name I've ever heard for a challenge on this show. There was not a pun to be seen. There wasn't like I feel like there's a phone sex pun we could have had.
You know, actually that's a very good point. I'll have to put a word in with Dr. Dilf, because you're absolutely right now that I'm thinking about it. That sounds like I never even noticed it until you just said it. But now that you say it, it does sound like a placeholder name. But we're going to put some really cool. We're going to put some really cool but not name in later. But it was said what it was. I guess they didn't want to. I'm sure they didn't want to say phone sex challenge, because that would have been like, well, then you have to have phone sex, and you know they didn't necessarily want that to be with everyone. So maybe they were just you know.
To me, to go from newlywed, the newlywed game to
I guess,
long
when
distance
you're doing
intimacy
that,
challenge.
Call it the phone sex challenge. Just call it that. You're calling it the newlywed game. I guess you're right. You're right.
It was like, and I think that's why it stood out to me so much, because it was such a stark difference from last episode's challenge.
Sure was.
Anyway, Stormy says, seduce me. She says it straight up, very plain. Have not phone sex necessarily, be sensual, have intimacy, seduce her. I'm not sure how so many people misconstrued the rules of this challenge. Was it different in the room when they explained it?
I wish to God I could tell you that it was. But no, we knew exactly what we were doing going into it.
The tea spilled.
We knew we knew what we were supposed to do. It was left up to us largely, and I'm sure it was to be sensitive to couples that maybe weren't necessarily as sexually involved or in that lane as much, and they wanted to kind of leave it open. But I mean, truthfully, that is what the challenge was. The challenge was, are you going to be able to maintain this level of sexual intimacy from a distance if you end up together? But I think they wanted to kind of leave a little bit of room. Plus, I'm fairly certain they don't ever want to make people feel pressured that they have to do something like that. So they were probably just like trying to walk that line in it.
That makes sense. For me, I'm like, take the piss out of it. You know, just have the phone sex. You make it fun. It doesn't have to be serious.
Exactly.
And that's the exact note I have written here. Let's get into the couples.
Yeah.
So we start off with you and Quis. You've got this ASMR voice on. Then Quis brings up the chicken farm. Overall, I thought yours was probably the best. because
Thank you.
it was.
Thank you very much. I agreed with it. And, you know, I have had people tell me that we were the favorite. I happen to agree with you. And, you know, granted, when we were going through it, you know, I knew it was supposed to be about hot and it was supposed to be about like, we're going to really get into it. And we were like, this should have been our challenge. This should have been our challenge. We were all over each other. We had so much fun. And he started talking and I was like, this is going to be so hot. Like, we're going to really be able to sell this. But when Quis mentions fucking chicken parm, I mean, where do you have to go with that? So it was like the yes and thing. I'm like, all right, we're not going to win this in the traditional way. So let's go for it. And honestly, I laughed my ass off watching it. I really laughed in the room. And I know that we should have been like more sort of directly sensual, but I got to tell you, making Stormy Daniels laugh is so much fun. I honestly think it might have been more fun than winning. Like watching her like stifling her laughter because she doesn't want to laugh out loud while we're doing it. Yes. She was literally covering her face. She's like turning away. She was like, it was so funny in the room. And they showed it, which I'm really glad so I can tell you about it. They were showing her like laughing and turning away from it. And I couldn't stop laughing. And Quis just went all in. Like he just absolutely went in. He thought, I think mentioning chicken parm during phone sex is completely cool. But I'm so glad he did. And honestly, I think we won. I mean, and we can talk about it at the end over who you'd rather be in bed with. But my argument is you'd want to be in bed with a Jimmy and Quis. We're just so much more fun than anyone else.
And that's, to me, sex should have a degree of fun and laughter and playfulness.
Yes.
And I like that you kind of brought all that together. It was cute, it was funny, it was sensual. It kind of encapsulates it all. Maybe I'm a little Drag Race pilled where I think no matter what the challenge is saying, you should make me laugh. Maybe that's me. That maybe I wasn't. Maybe, you know, Stormy feels different about that. But to me, I'm like, no matter what is happening, give me a giggle. I love that.
I think you actually bring up a good point now that you're saying that. But yeah, it's like every challenge does. Like if you can make them laugh, that doesn't matter what the challenge is, you're good. I think they probably walked that line because I'm going to be honest with you. I still think that we had the best one. And I think we were Stormy's favorite, regardless of his sensuality. But if you did go by that sensuality, then, you know, you can't, I can't, I'm not going to argue with them. We did talk about poultry. So, I mean,
did you say purr at the end? Did you say purr? Hang up the phone?
I was praying that no one was going to mention this because this was a joke. I'm not kidding. I have it written down. Please. I'm like trying to manifest it. Don't fucking talk about what I said. But it was a joke because Quis and I had been talking and he said something to me and I'm like, what the hell did you just say? And he's like, I said purr. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And he's like, oh, well, you know, this thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll use it. I'll figure out a way to use it. And so when I said it, I mean, and actually, you know, just to be dicks, the producers, of course, if you heard, it was almost like a record scratch, like right at the end when I said that, like absolutely shut it down. I was laughing so hard, but also wanting to throw a shoe at the TV at the same time, because I'm like, you couldn't just cut it off or just turn down the mic because you knew that I sounded like an idiot, but instead you just enhance it as much as possible. But yes,
it was great.
I said purr.
It was great because you say it and I'm like, yeah, Quis taught him that.
Quis did taught me that, and he did teach me that, and that was the one and only time I've ever used the damn word. So there. Oh, embarrassing.
Bobby, I love you. Purr.
Yeah.
I guess before we leave this section, I also just want to add, I love my sex with a little silliness. Like the intimacy is better with humor. And I've literally told people, like, if you can't make me laugh, you ain't gonna fuck me. That's it. Point blank, period.
Exactly. So, is it like, to me, that for us was the greatest part of our dynamic, was this kind of flirtatiousness that we had. We were both deadpan. We could both talk to each other in a very serious tone, make each other laugh, and yet know we were flirting with one another. It was so hot. Like that's the most fun flirting you can have, when you're both being serious, but you both know what you both mean. That's what I love. And I love the comedy too, but don't mean to keep dragging on. So we can move on.
So after that, we pick up the phone and call Derek and Anthony. And the whole time I was like, Anthony seems a little flustered. Like, when they had the bondage challenge, it's like Anthony could not stop laughing and smiling. Like he was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then in the confessional, he's like, yeah, wow. So
where's the lotion? Where's the lube?
Oh yeah, the lube, the sound effect, like
I think
the best.
No, I'll be honest with you. I liked Derek and Anthony in terms. I didn't mind their dynamic. I think they just have a kind of a different dynamic in terms of their sexual dynamic. I think Derek was pushing a little bit more, and I think that Anthony is just a little bit more reserved. But he wants to come out of that shell. He wants to be brought out, and so it really was, to me, it was actually kind of hot because what I saw was Derek sort of pulling him out, and he was like trying not to on camera get as turned on as I think he actually was getting. So I actually liked watching them. I think
I liked it as well.
If you weren't going to watch Quis and I would say that they were actually my favorite in terms of like, that was just hot because you could see he was just losing it. That's why it was so
you
hot.
could see him like he's visibly squirming on that bed. And I thought that was hot. But yeah, I liked that Anthony kind of took a little roundabout approach. His eyes are closed. He's talking about how hard his day was, and Derek is pushing it and twisting it to make it just ever so sexual.
I loved it.
I think the dynamic of their phone call, it was different, but it was definitely, you have the straight man in a comedy duo. This is the same thing, but make it sexy.
Anthony was just, he was so hot. He is so hot. He is so much fun. And watching him get uncomfortable in this was great. Watching him get uncomfortable at all was great because the moment I met him, I'm like, you have that body, that face, the tattoos, you're sexy, you have that smile. It was really nice to see him have to squirm a little bit. It actually made me feel really good to watch that. But he is amazing. They're both, and Derek's so hot, and watching him push his buttons and Anthony's buttons, I loved it.
Yeah. Also, I think this also helped me notice, and maybe it's because we had Daniel on the show last week, but I feel like now I'm noticing the differences between them a little more now.
Yeah. You can see the difference. They are different people. I mean, they have a very basic face shape that's the same, and so they kind of look, but once you actually start looking, you can identify the differences very easily. Yeah. Even not just Derek's scar, but also you can just see that they look different. They look different.
And also personality wise, like the stuff Derek was doing in this challenge, I'm watching and I'm thinking, would Daniel have done the same thing? Definitely not.
No, I think Daniel's the quieter one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Daniel still would have been sexual with it, but Derek was the one. Yes. Derek's like enjoying prodding at Anthony in this phone call.
They were I think they were a good match. They were a really, really good match because that's exactly what I think Anthony wanted and needed. And I think that's exactly what Derek enjoyed doing. But I agree with you.
Move on to Kane and Hazel. They start off laying on their stomachs. I have one word written here. That word is bottoms.
See, I knew you were going there before I could feel it coming. I don't know. That was oh boy. Yeah, that was uncomfortable to watch, I'll be honest. Like, and it's not
flat.
Oh God. And both of them on their backs or on their stomachs facing away from the camera with their feet up in the air.
Oh yeah. He's just like, hey girl,
like two sisters on the phone.
Let's just paint our nails and everything will be great. Oh no. I actually, and I, as much as I'm laughing about it, I felt really bad for them because they didn't pretend that they had some kind of crazy sexual chemistry in the house. We knew they were kind of stuck. And that must have been hard. I mean, that was uncomfortable for everyone because we had to do it in front of cameras and Stormy Daniels and stuff. But if you can imagine, now have phone sex with someone you're not really all that sexually interested in. No boy, that's going to be fun. So I probably would have turned away from the camera too, as much as possible.
I get it. Improv is hard. I think they should have gone a little more comedic, but also still sensual with it. They could have. I'm like, for $10K on the line, I will pick up that phone. Press 6 for sex.
Just sell it. Pretend it's someone you do like. You're just talking, so say whatever you want.
I will give you that fantasy. Press 6 for sex. I'm ready. I'll do phone sex operation. I'll do the whole thing.
Exactly.
It could have been really funny, but
just
not on the cards for them. What do we got going on with Barry and Marcus?
Oh my God. How's your mom, Barry?
How's your brothers?
Oh boy. I gotta say about Barry. Barry is such a gorgeous man. Like he is so attractive. He walked in and he had on. I remember he came into the room and he had on a pair of blue jeans, which were of course low, and he had a pink thong on that was whale tailing out the back of it. And I was like, this is distracting, but also it made me feel really good watching that phone sex challenge because it's very clear that God did not give with two hands with him, and at least he didn't get that. He's already hot, he's already got an amazing ass, and you know what? He doesn't know how to fucking do phone sex, and that's great. That made me feel fantastic and better about myself. So, thank you, Barry.
There is an art to being sensual with your words rather than your body, you know.
Mm-hmm. Their date was hotter. The date they had in front of everyone where they were talking about getting hard and grabbing each other's nipples. What's going on? You could have done that. I mean, they have it. They can do it. So I was like, when I saw that and I'd seen the date, I only saw the date like from a window, but I saw their date and I was like, I've seen how they are connecting. Like I can just see their dynamic. They are really going to get into each other when they do this phone sex challenge. And I remember telling Quis that they're going to kill it. I mean, they are so into each other. Oh, I had no clue. I didn't know until I watched the episode exactly what had happened. How's your mom? How's your mom?
Oh my God.
No. Marcus was trying to pull it together.
He tried. And I'll give him that. He tried to get Barry to go there. And Barry just kept pulling back.
That was bad. I felt bad for them, and I did give credit to Marcus because Marcus really was trying. He's like, "What? Like, okay, reel it in. Let's come back to this." And it just, I think they got off on the wrong foot, and I don't think they recovered. But I expected them to do incredibly well on that challenge, and I'm on one hand, I'm happy to know that they didn't. On the other hand, I don't know. I kind of would like to have watched if they did get it right.
100%.
Yeah.
I also say Marcus was literally over there just like, ooh, I'm so wet. My pussy's in bio. And then Barry's just like, have you seen the spaghetti that we took out for tonight? Like, it's just
literally. Who tried the chicken, you know?
I mean, you could argue about mentioning chicken parm, but at least we went full in with it, you know? We went full in. We didn't, it wasn't just
to the bit.
Thank you. Make them laugh then. But no one was laughing. You had one person who was basically just dry humping the bed, and the other one's like, oh, I don't know. I'm feeling a little tired today. It was a...
I'll call you back after this meeting. I was like, what? How are you going to end the phone call like that?
Oh, God. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I definitely was not expecting that from either one of them. Definitely not from Barry. I think Marcus gave it in. Marcus gave a performance. Barry was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We ended with Nigel and Rico, and I thought their call was great. I wrote here, sexy, spicy call. They was hitting everything I need. Like, I'm a massage, I'm like hairy calves. I'm gonna start from the bottom and go up. Like, it was, I was feeling it. And I guess Rico was also feeling it because they like blurred out his like crotch whenever he was on his back. But in other scenes, it was fine. So I'm like, what's going on? Did his bubble gum fall out? Or like,
I have had people ask about that, and I don't know the answer to it. I don't know whether or not it just might have been that it could have been that the angle of where they were shooting from, because they were kind of shooting like right at the crotch. It might have been that his underwear wasn't covering completely.
That's what we came to the conclusion of. We're like, maybe a little ball was hanging out the side.
Yeah. Because when you look at the high ones, when you look at the other shots, they'll show it, and it's like, okay, it's not. Now it's also possible that they have shots where, you know, he wasn't hard, and then other shots where he was that needed to blur it out. But I think it might have just been an appearance, but maybe he can answer the question. I really don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I have right here, Nigel's voice goes down a full octave when he's entering the sexy zone.
Well, he has had some code switches a little bit. I don't know if you remember, even from the first episode, I remember like, I'm your daddy.
I'm your daddy. Yep. I mentioned that.
Yeah, he went down a couple octaves on that one. But hey, you know, when you're in the mood, when you're feeling sexy, you never know. Maybe Barry White just comes out.
He hits that fuck yeah. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, oh jeez.
Yeah, I had to go grab me a towel from the other room real quick.
Exactly.
It was
the thing that made me laugh here was when he said, "After we do what we need to do."
It's so carnal.
That kind of took me out a little. I don't know. For me, I was like, I feel like we could be a little more colorful. We could be a little more colorful with the language here. After we do what we need to do.
Yeah, why are you being coy now? Like it for me, it had literally like all the steps of sexual intimacy right up to the point of actually like saying it. And and I don't know, like it was hot. I mean, they are definitely into each other. There's no question about that. But I don't know. I'd still rather be with the Jimmy and Quis, but that's just my own personal opinion. I might be biased.
Mario, how would you have handled this challenge? Just say you're on the phone with your man. How are you tackling the phone sex
Let's hear it, Mario. Come on.
When I watched this, it was a little hard for me because when I started to get into that sexy era of me, like we already had like video stuff. So I'm just like, wait, can I do this with just my voice? Like, is that possible? I mean, over text, like, yeah, I can write you a whole paragraph. We can make it sexy, but I'm like, wait, can I like read this out and still have the same effect? So I would have tried. Honestly, I probably would have gone with you and Quis and just did a little humor, keep it sexy, maybe slip into a little Derek, just be like, oh, is it hard like that dick? Like, maybe I would have done that, you know?
See, that's there are ways to do it to also kind of bring in the fun. And I think, the humor, which I totally agree with you. Obviously, I agree we did it. But to me, it like kind of also cuts into the, it's not so serious. It can be a little fun and serious. Like that's the way to go. I'm with you.
I am a very deeply unserious person. So for me, I'm hopping on that phone, full Shakespeare. I'm giving you 50 Cent romance novel. I present my member to you.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Thanks, Barry. How's your mom, Barry?
The most flowery language I can think of. It's because I cannot stay serious for 2 seconds.
Real panty dropper there, just continuing to read out poetry. Like, okay, this is great. This is so hot.
I can feel him getting firm. Like I'm not even talking to the other person. I'm just I'm reading out a passage from a novel.
See, Jake would have done that, but like, I can feel him getting firm. And my ass would have on the other line, like, he don't know, but I'm getting firm too. Like, we would have literally just done that.
Same parts.
The same
parts. The same parts.
The same parts. We move on to the Daddies in the Daddies Den. Is that what it's officially called?
Daddies Den. Yeah, that's called the Daddies Den. The area we had the discussion. Yeah, that's called the Daddies Den.
Gotcha. I've been calling it the pool room for the longest time.
That's kind of what it is, but it is the Daddies Den.
The Daddies
Den. Does the himbo room have a name? If the Daddies Den,
there wasn't a himbo room. So there were the bedrooms. There was a himbo bedroom, daddy bedroom, but there was really just there was just the Daddy's Den. I don't know why. I mean, anyone used it, but it was just that was what it was called, the Daddy's Den.
The himbo's hallway.
There wasn't
I was like, what's another H word? Like
the bathroom with all the fleet enemas in it. I don't know.
Listen,
lead us through this. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think starting at episode 5, I had real concerns. I mean, I had them before in terms of the emotional heightening of where these two were. But what I saw was, and I know you've heard this from everyone that's been on there, but you really develop these really close relationships with these people in the bedrooms. Because I've never had a camp experience. Now I think I have, because I shared a bedroom with 6 people in one bathroom, which was so much fun, by the way. And in doing that, you really get close with people. And I knew Nigel had the worst year. I mean, he lost his mom. He lost a guy he had been dating. I mean, it was terrible. It was really terrible. And I saw that he was really going through it. And my nature is to try as much as I can to calm it. I don't like seeing people in like a heightened emotional state. It makes me uncomfortable. So when I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I'm balancing this difference between what I can say and what I should say, in terms of a cast member. In the moment, what I was doing is I was trying to push him in the right direction. It doesn't appear this way, but I'll explain what was going through my mind. Um, I, I had been saying in my confessionals, I said it in this argument, I said it privately to Nigel, that you want your partner to be the one person on earth you can trust who will be able to look you in the eye and say, honey, I love you, but you're wrong and we have to change. And if you accept that and you grow that way, you grow as a person. And by taking on their advice, you're also growing as a couple. That's what you want. You do not want one person to be saying, you have to agree with me whether I'm right or wrong. And I didn't like that I was seeing that kind of happening. And on the back porch when when it was the scene with Quis and I and Nigel and Rico, and it was the one where Rico said, "Can you understand that? Can you understand that?"
Which we got into last episode. Oh my god, that so did not sit well with either of us.
I got a knot in my stomach. Like when he said, and they did it. They cut to me again in the exact, and there it was, just eyebrows straight up. I couldn't believe I was hearing that. It was so aggressive to me. It was so aggressive. But honestly, my problem wasn't with Rico in that moment. In that moment, my problem was that what was Nigel's response to it? He apologized for not being there for Rico. How was he not there? He had a different opinion on the vitally important subject of which couple should be eliminated from the reality show house.
Yeah. Of which they were not at risk. They were not a couple that was like worried about going home. It was fully just about Sal and Nick. It
was a silly argument to me. But basically, when I watched Nigel apologize, I wanted to pick him up and throw him into the ocean because I couldn't believe.
You're better than this. You're better than this.
Like, did you get that poison from the Temple of Doom? What is going on? Do you need to be shocked out of this? Like, I didn't understand why he was reacting that way. But what I had been saying, and in saying this line about you want your partner to be the one person to look you in the eye and say, you're wrong. I understand that people took that to be a response to what Rico was saying, that, he had said, you need to agree with me. And I'm saying, no, you need to have someone who says this. But that's not what I was doing. I was telling Nigel this. The reason I was telling Nigel that is because I saw what a train wreck that looked like on episode 5. I saw that it looked terrible with what Rico said and how Nigel was responding. And I was basically telling Nigel, you have to be this person right now. You have to be the person to look at Rico and say, Rico, I really enjoy this. And I'm really getting having these strong feelings and getting to know you. But you don't want a partner who's going to agree with you whether right or wrong. Can you imagine? I mean, honestly, can you imagine if after seeing episode 5, you had a separate scene with Nigel and Rico where they have a conversation in which Nigel gets his spine back and then tells Rico, I really am in this for you, but we got to have a conversation about your expectations. And if they had gotten through that, oh my God, it would have looked so good for them. And it would have been great. And it would have been great for Nigel. Like, that's all I was concerned about. It would have been great for Nigel. My problem was, in that moment, I was fighting this balance. Like, I wanted to tell him, like, you can fix this. But on the other hand, he really was a competitor. So why would I tell him, here's what you can do to completely wrap up your storyline and make you look like the better couple
have now. Like the best arc possible.
Yes. Why would I do that? But I couldn't stop myself. So I did. I kept hinting at it. And obviously the way I did it made it look like I was just attacking him. But I really wasn't. I was hoping that he was going to be the one to stand up and say that. It didn't happen. He went back, and after that fight, he ended up talking to Rico, and they talked about potentially eliminating us. So the message was not delivered, that's for sure. So That's what I was thinking. That is what I was thinking.
Here, I'm empathizing with you this entire time. I have written here, I'm like, is Jimmy an earth sign? Because I have had this exact same conversation with some of the girls that I know. I have had to be the one not to call you in and be like, let's take off the rose-colored glasses. Let's look at this, zoom out a bit.
Yeah. It doesn't come from a place of hate. It comes from a place of love. And it was the reason I didn't, directly address both Nigel and Rico when we were out in the back, because to me, the issue was Nigel, and Nigel was my friend, and I wanted Nigel to be happy. But unfortunately, in order to completely wrap that up, I would have basically given him a blueprint by which to win the competition.
Exactly.
And I, love them, but competition, it's the competition.
Yeah. I also have written here, I think when talking to someone in a situation like that, saying the word toxic, they completely forget everything else you have said.
You're right.
The whole conversation goes out of the window. They hear the word toxic, and then it becomes, oh, you think I'm in a toxic relationship. Oh, you're jealous of my relationship. Oh, you wish
I'm sorry you don't have one. I'm sorry you don't have one like that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that is really where
you're right.
A lot of this misunderstanding came from. And that's it. I don't know why people get that way when they hear the word toxic.
Well, I mean, it's a bad word. It's a trigger word. And I get it. I understand. I mean, that was an insulting word. And when you hear it, it does sound insulting. I happen to think in the moment it was accurate. But I also know why that would shut you off in terms of like your willingness to listen to another opinion, because the reason it got to that point for me to say that was I kept doing this circumspect way of trying to tell him, you need to have a conversation with Rico, have a conversation with Rico. And it wasn't coming across. And finally I'm like, look, this is fucking nonsense. This is toxic. And you have to fix, like, it was all me. It was all me. And it was terrible. You're absolutely right. Toxic was a bad word to use, even though it was what I was feeling.
Yeah, because I'm like, I agree with you in this entire thing. But the second we said toxic, I was like, no, because I could see in Nigel's face the change.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is where he's lost. I'm like, oh no.
You're right. And that's the word he used when he went back and talked to Rico. That was the only thing that he picked up. And so you're right.
Mentioned nothing else about it. It was like, they said you're toxic. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. You said the message wasn't delivered. No, it was delivered. It just wasn't read. That's the problem.
Delivered and returned to sender.
I think that's what it was. And interestingly enough, I mean, nobody was on my side. Nobody thought that I was coming from a decent place, and no one agreed with me. Not only did they think I was being mean to him, none of them could even see why I was saying it in the first place. They're like, we don't understand. I'm like, do you like Nigel or do you hate him? Because if you hate him, then you should want him to continue on this road. If you like him, you should try and help him, because he's already like upset and he's already coming from this deeply emotional place because of what's happening in his life. Help him. Don't pretend like this is normal, because it's not. No, Jimmy, you're the asshole. So that's what happened. It happened.
And Nigel's a strong person, but I feel like in this pressure cooker situation of reality TV, it can be all the more harder to zoom out and see the bigger picture of it all. You know what I mean? Like if this, I can, not with 100% certainty, but I feel like if this situation happened not on a reality TV show, Nigel would have been 100% more likely to have stood up for himself and be like, you know what? No, I don't agree with you here, and this is why. And I am my own person. I'm allowed to have opinions.
You're absolutely right. The truth is that he also probably, like everyone, would be in that situation, balancing how strong is this relationship really? And if I actually do have this conversation and I say, look, you've said that you need a partner who's going to agree with you right or wrong. I'm about to tell you why that is not true. You don't want a partner like that. You also run the risk of that partner saying, well, no, I want someone who is going to agree with me, and that's correct for me, and I'm done. So I'm sure he balanced all that, and I'm sure it was a very difficult thing for him to even think about.
Yeah. And then he gets into losing his mother, his previous boyfriend, which we also talked about when he was on the episode as well.
Yeah.
And then Anthony comes in and diffuses the situation a little bit.
He tries.
He's like,
he tries. He's trying. I appreciated that Anthony kind of jumped in and tried to balance it out. I don't even think Anthony agreed with me at that point, but
I think he was like, "We just need to resolve this."
That's exactly true. And I love Anthony, I really do. I love that man, but I don't think he exactly agreed with anything I was saying. Plus, I think all of them universally thought, well, there's this great romance that's happening in the house, and you're shitting on it. And even if there are problems with it, you are hitting the one couple that we were all thrilled about getting together, because we were so happy for Nigel and Rico. But I think he just wanted, like me, he was probably just like, please stop arguing. I don't want this. He tried.
You're fucking up my zen. Let's get this back.
Exactly.
very Prince Joshua, like, please don't fight at my birthday party.
It's my birthday.
Oh, the birthday party. The birthday party.
I cannot wait till we go back and watch season 1 and review that, because we had so many thoughts. I love season 1.
That was when Tokyo leaned over and started twerking on the table.
Right on the table. Just like, I'm not trying to hear you yelling. I just want to hear my ass clapping.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was interesting. I'm interested to hear what you guys are going to say about it, but yeah.
We got a lot to say. So the last thing I have written here is Anthony says, I'm a man of it's not what you say, it's how you say it, which I love that. Love hearing that.
Did you feel him just jabbing that knife right in my chest? That was great.
Not even that. Great. I just wish he had taken some of that advice last episode in the conversation with Hazel. To say that and listen, I love Anthony, right? But to say that when just last episode we were hopping off the couch over this situation,
activate, like, go get Hazel. Is he upstairs? Is he in here?
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, it's not that serious. But
to me, that just pinged in my head. I'm like, that is good advice, because we talked about that with Daniel. It is how you say it, but I just wish he had taken a little bit of that last episode.
That's a valid point. I think in the moment, for Anthony, I think he was just he was just trying to calm the situation. You're right, maybe with a little lack of self-awareness from last week, but I still appreciate that he was trying to calm it, and he was like trying to be balanced about both. He's like, I understand, but you also have to be careful about your words. I get it. I mean, I'm getting what he's saying. I'm getting what he's doing, but you're right. I mean, it's easier. It's much easier to do as I say, not say as I, do as I do. So.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Barry and Marcus. I don't have a whole lot written here. Imario, do you have anything?
I just have written here that there was a Machiavellian joke that Dr. Dilfs made. That, what did I say? It was like
they think Machiavellian is a pasta. Oh, Italian mac and cheese. We're bringing that back.
And then I said Italian mac and cheese and Machiavellian minestrone, and I was like, all right, that's the pair. I just wrote here, they were like, I know we messed up real bad in the house, like we going home, but what if we use Jimmy and Quis' fodder? Because the tea was, they said this, and this, and I was like, oh, okay, curveball storyline.
I have never been more comfortable knowing that another couple was going to get their asses thrown out of the house than Barry and Marcus. And honestly, when you watch it, because Quis was really pissed off at me. Quis was pissed at me for bringing this up, because he was a very good strategic thinker. And he'd be like, you're going after the biggest couple. It's going to be a problem. People like them. And even if they don't, they still look like the greatest romance. And you're going to end it or cause problems for it. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But I said, honestly, I could do anything. I could do anything today. And I know damn well I'm not going to get kicked out, because Barry and Marcus are so hated after what they did.
Such a huge target on their back.
Yeah. And I'm like, did you see like at the end of the elimination when they did it, it's Barry and Marcus and everybody else, and that is just it. That was it. They were hugging themselves, and we were hugging each other. And
that was the second I saw. I was like, they're
going home.
Their warrant is written. Yeah, they're done.
So they can. I mean, I guess they had to have the scene, but truthfully, I don't think there was anything that was going to happen that was going to stop them from going home.
I'm like, if they were really, really smart about it, the conversation would have just been all about spending their social game and to swing votes toward, either Hazel and Kane. Because if there were to be another couple to be voted off, it would have been Hazel and Kane.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think this conversation would have been better put to use if they were like, okay, we have such a huge target on our back. If we can make everyone believe that voting out the people without a relationship is the best idea, then we have a chance at staying, which
that would have been smart.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we were even worthy of a discussion on from a tactical perspective. It didn't make sense. But then again, they also made the stupidest decision ever with the couple they voted out. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that they're having the discussion about, maybe Jimmy and Quis could be the next one. Like, okay. Great strategy.
Before you go on a reality TV show, this is for anyone listening. read The Art of War. Read
Absolutely.
The Art
Sun
of
Tzu.
War. Yes. Learn how to think tactically. It's all about strategy. And I'm like, because that to me, watching this, I'm like, they only have one way out of this. Pin it on Hazel and Kane. Go to everybody. Don't you want to compete against the best of the best?
We have a
We're
connection.
A strong couple.
Yeah.
We have a
You're
connection.
A strong couple. They have nothing. Send them home. You know, that's the only way they could have had a way out of here.
I agree with you. I think that in order to do that, they really would kind of have to have, I guess, sort of thrown themselves in the sword, like saying, look, I know everyone's pissed off, but I hope that everyone will give us a chance because we actually have a genuine, and I do think they actually did have a connection.
Exactly.
We have a genuine connection, certainly better at that moment anyway than Kane and Hazel. So they could have probably done that, but they were, I don't know, over strategizing, I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't meeting the most of what they could have done. I agree with your strategy though. That would have been a smart move.
Yeah. We move on to Nigel and Rico. I feel like once again we are having a fundamental misunderstanding of what happened in the scene with you. Nigel's like, okay, because during the conversation he's a little more receptive to what you're saying. He's like, okay, because even towards the end of that, he was like, oh my God, I was tripping. I'm so sorry. But how did you think I was going to react? You know, he starts to be like, but now he goes and he says, Rico, they said we're toxic. They said we're toxic. Rico's like, let me talk to him. He's like, no, don't do it. So did we just forget everything that just happened?
I think that really, I was surprised. I was surprised by that. I wasn't really surprised that they would talk about possibly eliminating us. I don't fault them for that. I mean, you know, you're going to do what you have to do. It's the game. Yeah. But I was surprised that that's the message that got delivered because, again, this would have been the time. This would have been the scene that they could have had that I was trying, like, secretly, like the back of my mind, I wanted them to have, where Nigel sits down and says, look, Rico, yeah, he said it and it was rough, but let's have a conversation about this. And, you know, we can kind of talk through it because this is what he was saying. And what do you think about what he was saying? You know, you don't want a partner who's going to agree with you. This would have been the scene. And instead of using that opportunity for a growth moment, that would have definitely gotten my vote for sure. Honestly, I mean that. Instead, it was, well, clearly we're going to have to eliminate them because they have now said that our relationship is toxic. So I don't know. It was a bummer, and I think the message might have been, lost at that point. They feed off of each other. This was the other thing. They feed off of each other, and no one is there to say, like, maybe not, but yep.
Which also, I'm like, even if they wanted to eliminate y'all, the amount of social work they would have to do to get everyone to swap numbers that way, because that's one couple against everyone already still gunning for Barry and Marcus. You know, I'm like, numbers wise, because this, like I said, I had a bunch of notes about numbers. I'm like, numbers wise, it just didn't make sense for them to even try to throw y'all's name into the ring.
And that could have, you know, ultimately, you know, we talked, you know, I do say that I give them a lot of credit, and I really do. And I really, at the end, you know, I give them credit for what happens. But truthfully, it might have just been numbers too. If they're going to come after us, if they're going to try and eliminate us, they're going to have to make sure they have the numbers to do it. Because if I saw Jimmy and Quis as one of the names on that, I would have known exactly who put it on there.
Yeah.
So unless you know, if you're going to hit the king, you better kill the king. And so if that's kind of what I was thinking, that I don't really know. Maybe they did talk about it and thought, we don't have the numbers, so let's not do this right now, but maybe next time we'll try. So
yeah, it's definitely something they were like, let's just put this in the back of our head for later. You know, we'll see if it pays dividends.
Absolutely.
We move on to the stripper scene. It's cute, fun little reward for everyone. I don't have any other note here aside from support strippers, support go-go dancers, support all types of performances, all types of performers. Throw some dollars. If you are out at a bar, there are go-go dancers or strippers or anyone else performing, give them $1. Release yourself.
I have the
Stormy Bugs.
You got a Stormy Bug?
Stormy Bugs. Yeah. We love Stormy Bugs. Yeah, release yourself from the shame of feeling like you're, you know, I feel like a lot of people feel like dirty, quote unquote, for going and trying to tip someone in a jock strap or tip someone who's go-go dancing. Tip them. They are performers.
Tip them. And God, they were both so hot. It was Damien was one and Sin Silva was the other. Damien's so hot. By the way, did you notice on that HD that was so clear you could actually see the hole around Damien's asshole when he was doing a spin around? Yeah, you had to clock it. It was right there. But for me personally, Sin Silva gets it every time. Sin Silva's so hot, but they were both gorgeous. It was so much fun that night.
Oh, this is good. I think it would have been fun. I know this didn't happen, but I thought it would have been fun if everyone did a pole class rather than, like have them lead a pole class.
Yeah, can you have imagined exactly what it would have been like watching me take a fucking pole class?
That's what we want to see.
We were robbed. I can't stand it. Over here, I put the body on Sin Silva as tea, but the ass on Damien Lenore is a shot of espresso because the ass was ass in. It was,
you can say what you want, but I appreciate thicker, and I generally appreciate thicker, but I definitely appreciate a thick ass. And Sin Silva, wow, that last scene, and I'm like, did you do this for me? Because then the last scene in the show was Stormy taking the cell phone out of Sin Silva's ass. And I'm like looking around like, did you do this for me? Did you do this for me? Did you make this shot for me in particular? Yeah. And they're like, no, Jimmy, the whole world doesn't revolve around you. But it was pretty odd anyway.
Stormy doing her little acting challenge. I love the acting challenge.
I love all of those. I love all of the ends. I love all of the Dr. Dilf calls. They are always funny. The writing is always so good on them, and it makes me laugh my ass off. And Stormy is just amazing. She's a great
performer. The biggest missed opportunity during the phone challenge is to end the phone call with send nudes.
Send nudes. Send nudes. I absolutely agree with you. I don't know if Stormy would have liked it because we were stealing her thing, because I did talk about it, but I kind of felt like she might have thought that we were stealing her thing. Like, it's a little weird. But you're right. No one actually did that. No one did it. And that would have been a missed opportunity. And everyone missed opportunity there. That's crazy. I'm disappointed.
Then we get to this elimination. This is it goes kind of as we would assume it goes. We're in the top 4 now. What do you have written for this, Imario? Because I kind of was like, yeah, this makes sense.
I literally wrote like an X emoji and I put Marcus and Barry ellipsis, not a surprise. That's all I wrote. Because what else is there going to be?
And how pissed was Marcus? Not Marcus. How pissed was Barry?
I have nothing to say.
I have nothing to say. Like, you just eliminated your friend. You just eliminated your friend yesterday. You heard he had plenty to say. Why don't you say something?
Yeah, clap it up for Barry.
And then Derek, of course, the twins, always giving it the best reactions they can. And Derek's like, I just felt terrible. Like, just
he got his vengeance. He's living for it. I'm living with it. And Marcus is doing this weird British accent in the confessionals. Where did this come from?
By the way, I mean, okay, I this is the one thing I noted, and this may sound stupid, but he started talking about how there were no gay shows out. Like, I think he's like 20 years old or some shit. So
he's 24.
Wasn't Will and Grace out like 30 years ago? Like, I get it. It might not be exactly what you're talking about, but no, I don't think you were living in the Stone Age at that particular point. But yeah, I get it. And the British accent, I didn't really understand. But he was just, it's hard. Getting through those confessionals is tough. And getting through your last confessional when you've been voted out, obviously, I'm sure that must feel very bad for them. But still at the same time, it is a rough one, and it's the worst one they have to get through. So you kind of have to, and it's probably hard choking back and trying to keep yourself from falling apart, because every single person, it's Dr. Ed kind of started it where he's like, I'm not going to be no crying ass bitch, CAB, no crying ass bitch. And I swear to God, every single person who was eliminated ended up crying. I don't know if it showed in all of them, and it's not going to show in everyone's, but I swear to God, they were all getting emotional every time.
It's emotional, yeah, for sure.
It's hard. So no blame to Marcus, and the British accent was probably just a struggle,
just to help cope with it.
I mean, maybe he was watching Slag Wars in the back. You never know.
Maybe. Who knows?
Love Slag Wars. Love Slag Wars.
I also can't even fall in for that because I do a bad British accent, way too often.
On the daily?
I think it is just kind of like a a zillennial type thing, just slipping into a random British accent at times.
Yeah, don't do it.
I will say, Marcus, if you are looking for old queer shows to watch, go watch Noah's Ark. Go watch, because even if we're spinning it past rules and gray, exactly, like go watch Noah's Ark. Queer as folk, the L word. Let's expand it. Let's watch some lesbian stuff.
Amen.
And I'm not, of course, not as many queer shows as we deserve.
No,
not as many queer shows as we need.
Of course not.
But especially queer reality shows, I think we're definitely lacking on.
Oh, none. Yeah, there was. I don't know if you remember the first one, which was Boy Meets Boy. Boy Meets Boy was where they had a gay man who was basically the Bachelor,
and the rest were maybe straight. Questionably.
Yeah, there were blended people who some of them were. This would never fly in this day and age now because it would look like it was manipulation. But they had a few straight people, and if he ended up partnered with one of the gay people, they'd split the money. But if he ended up partnered with the straight guy kept all the money. That was reality show. That was gay. That was gay reality show back then. So yeah, he might have a point in terms of the reality show stuff.
Yeah, I think we have a
Traitors
decent amount of queer.
That's what that sounds like
narrative television. Yeah. Queer reality, I think, is still kind of lacking.
We're working on it.
Good.
That's why I'm there at Daddy TV now.
That's what I like. That's what I like to hear. Aww. Give us more queer reality TV. Listen, if they ever want to put me and Imario in the Simple Life situation, I'll shovel some shit.
Listen, put me in a New York Goes to Work situation. I'll go be a clown for some kids. Like,
hey, you know what? Why don't you guys start season 4 of For the Love of Dilfs? We'll start casting that as soon as we did. We'll definitely want to have you guys on. You both fit in perfectly. It's a stepping point. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you move on to your great reality show or producing. You never know.
Yeah. This is our chance to finally be Stormy Daniels, Flotsam and Jetsam.
I know. Oh my God.
Oh, what I crave to be an eel, Anyways, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for coming and talking with us. It was an honor to have you here. It was a great time.
Thanks, guys. It was really had a blast. I'm so glad to have been with you, and I'm glad you had me on. Thank you so much.
And we are excited to see what happens next. So, we're rooting for you. We're at the point where I'm like, I like all these couples, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know who's gonna win. I'm nervous.
I don't want anyone to go home. I just want everyone to stay here, and we choose from this.
Let's start doing by points. Just keep everyone here. I don't want to send nobody else.
You don't want anyone to go home. I want them all to go home. That was kind of what it is. Just make this so much easier, so much cleaner to just happen. Just give us the money. Just let it happen as it should happen. But
lock the doors to the mansion. Leave them in. Leave us the camera.
I wanted that show to last 12 weeks. At that point, I love the couples that were there. I wanted it to be about hair splitting. I wanted to actually develop more. I agree with you. Like, I wanted it to go on longer than it was. I didn't want to leave the mansion, and I did miss everyone. And especially when you got to this level, up to this point, I missed every single person who was gone at that point. You felt it. You really felt bad, and you really missed them when they were gone.
You know what? I'm gonna at Daddy TV, be like, hey, we want Dilfs, uncut, longer, harder. We need it.
Oh,
that's it. Yes, I love it. We need it. We need the uncut ones. We need the secure. Like I talked about, like we need to have like a separate show where it's just nothing but the security camera footage, like Big Brother. Like they'll be able to tune in wherever they want. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was all over it. But no, I think they're pretty settled in their formats.
And we are loving the format. We'll give them that. We are loving the format, and we can't wait to see more.
Keep watching. Just keep watching, and you're gonna love. You're gonna love what you're seeing. Trust me, it's gonna get more exciting, and I personally know the next season will be great too. So you're gonna love it.
Great, I can't wait. Jamie, do you want to promote anything? You want to give the girls your socials, promote things happening?
Jimmy Tarara, just Jimmy Tarara on Instagram, and look me up, say hello. I love talking to the people who love this show, and there are so many people who do. And I'm like just looking forward to getting to know everyone. I believe that we're going to be having a season 2 cast reunion in LA on March 26th at Rocco's in WeHo. And I would love to see as many people who want to come and join and meet the cast they can. We're going to have most of the cast in, including, I believe, Kane, who will be flying all the way in from a different continent. So that would be really cool.
Cool. Imario, where does the booty do the origami at?
the booty does the origami.
Oh God, no.
I can't. I want to do it.
Cut it.
We'll crop that out. The booty does the origami on twitter.com. If you want to see me in clothes doing some origami, I'm launching my craft channel on Instagram at booty origami. That's a joke. I can't craft.
Okay, cool. Because
I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God.
I wasn't going to check that one out anyway, so I'm sorry. Marty got the one.
I'm a crafty bitch. Shit, huh? I was here for it. I was like, I want to see you crochet. I'm ready.
You know what? I'm this is my audition for Dilfs season 3.
Season 4. Season 3 is already filmed, bitch.
Season 4.
And I'm Jake. You can follow me at Poison Touch Pod to see my other podcast, The Poison Touch Advice Hour, where Gay and his friends give you all the best and worst advice to deal with all of life's predicaments. If you want to see my personal stuff, you can follow me at CrowCunk on Twitter and Instagram. There, I mostly talk about the X-Men and various gay shit and Pokemon. So, boom, catch me there. Also, if you're watching or listening to Baby Daddies, give us 5 stars, leave us a review, leave us a comment and a like, and, you know, help the algorithm push us out. We're having a lot of fun making this. And yeah, thanks. We'll catch y'all next time.